Boom, we live. All right, man. It's another one, man. We back. Another full-blown Trapping TV one-on-one with Mr. 365, man. And you know we do this all over the world, man. Sometimes our guests aren't as fortunate to be 2 miles away or 10 miles away and can just come into the studio. But we'll make it happen, man. Today I have the pleasure of having a special guest in the building with me. I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself to the people. Let them know who I got in the building with me today.
My name is Derrick Mckenzie, aka Majestic, co-founder of the Ohio Hip Hop Awards and Learn to Earn Music Conference that took place from 2006 all the way till 2018.
All right. I'm glad you gave me that professional setting. I always tell everybody when they come on and give me what I need. I love that because then we can start there. We're going to start with from the beginning, Majestic. Let's talk about what got you into the entertainment business, the hip hop scene.
I started off just rapping in my room with my friends and, in the city every once in a while, hanging out with some people, just, getting some raps in. And then I personally progressed to right when the internet kind of started buzzing, I started making online music and battles through Winamp and software programs that I was lucky and fortunate enough to have on my computer and have the internet in my house and beats and access to all that. So really learning how to use not Pro Tools, but I forgot what the program was, but it was just a recording program that we could use. And we'd upload battles all across the world to different people, different MCs in different cities and states. And I was really bad when I first started. Everybody's really bad when they first start, but I thought I was, good because I was battling people. And then that transition when I turned like 19, 20, started going out to the city to like these battles hosted by Suave Gotti called Spitboxers. And it was like Spitboxer Academy, where every Wednesday he would have people come out, or I think it was Tuesdays, people would come out and graffiti, breakdancers, MCs, and DJs would all just kind of mingle, and there'd be battles in all sorts of those different environments and each one of those elements. And, I slowly climbed my way and networked and battled and got to become a champion in freestyle battle rapping before it was really writing down the lyrics and having hundreds of people standing behind you and everything. You were on stage and everybody else was in the crowd, and they put on a beat. The DJ would drop it just like 8 Mile. And that's kind of what we did for about 2-3 years. And then just kind of got with some people and kicked the can around with this thing called the 216-411. And I'll break it down because a lot of Columbus people don't know how it came about. So I started this thing called 216-411, which was just giving the information as to everything that was going on in the city. And this is before Facebook, before MySpace even. We would go around and I would collect people's email addresses and I would just say, hey, do you listen to hip hop? Cats would say, yeah, I listen to hip hop. Hey, you got an email address? Yeah. Well, I have an email hip hop newsletter that lets people know about the different hip hop events that are going on in the city. You down? And I eventually got my way all the way up to 2,500 emails. And I was just doing these monthly bi-weekly email blasts, letting people know about the city.
What year was this?
This was like 2000. This started like 2003, 2004. So that was my segue into, rapping is one thing. I always knew that like anybody could rap, anybody could do that. But what I was seeing was that nobody knew what was going on with anybody else's stuff. People were just kind of like doing their own thing here, and it'd be like different pockets of people all over the place. So what I was trying to do was trying to be like muscle my way into a position to where I could be the media outlet for the city and get everybody to come through what I was doing. So when I sent it out to my people, I would have the platform and I could plug in everybody's stuff. So it got to the point to where, cats like Ray Cash kind of got signed right before the first Ohio Hip Hop Awards. And I put out something about him being signed, like it was this big thing. And then he walked up to me and was like, yo, that's dope. Nice to meet you. And I was like, oh, you know me? Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? So it's like, it was one of those things to where it quickly took me from nobody to people asking me like, man, why are you doing this? Who are you? MGK's manager hit me up like, who are you? Why are you doing this? You should come down to my shop. Different people in the city. And then one day I was sitting there and I said, I want to do an award show. And so I made a list on my notebook, and like 10 categories, and I started filling in names. I just started calling people that I knew that I had their contact information. I called about 50 people, and then finally I called Quincy Taylor, and he said, yo, like, this is dope. Like, we need to talk. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I was just doing like a test just to see if people would even think it
Right,
was good.
right.
And I was getting votes and collecting votes just off a mock ballot and everything like that. And so I met with him, and he introduced me to Lorand and Garbs, and then I also brought in Suave, and we all sat down and we formulated the first hip hop award show, which was heavily Cleveland, because we didn't know, we never even like thought about going down to Columbus or Cincinnati. Like, we, you know, I mean, it was just, we got to do this. We got to make it pop. So we just did it, and we gave a lot of
Yeah,
awards
break that
away.
down.
And yeah.
Let's break that down for the people, like, because you was giving them some game right there. You gave them the game from you, because you just being a young teenager, battling,
Mhm.
getting your foot wet into it, to where you always had this business sense in your head of, okay, they like this. You was getting emails pre-social media, like
Mhm.
this is the beginning of internet, like you said, like MySpace, Black Planet, like those are those days.
Yeah,
2003, when you talk about 2003, all the stuff that we see now is like futuristic.
man,
So
the
you
towers
be
just came down, you know? So, I mean, like, we were kind of like, MySpace came out, and it was, you couldn't even, if you didn't go to college, you couldn't even get on it. So I got them, or Facebook, when Facebook came out, you couldn't even get on it. So I like saw it, and I'm like, man, that's garbage. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't go to college. So, you know, I felt like Facebook started out excluding a lot of, you know, no offense, excluding a lot of black folk. You know what I mean? Like, it
right.
wasn't meant for black people. When it came out. But you know, slowly they started opening up to other colleges and colleges and colleges, and they went public. But anyways, before all of that, there was really nothing, like, no way for anybody to go out and spread the word. There were some circulars that were going around, like, you know, I think Columbus had CL Creative or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had the Scene magazine. So the Scene magazine was around, but you know, I would use the Scene magazine to find events, and I would put them into my email newsletter, and I would send them out to my database and my network, and I would do interviews with DJs, and I would just like try to interview people, and just kind of create like a little culture. I'd share people's music and everything like that through the internet, and people didn't even know that you could do that at the time, that you could actually like send a link to people and they can listen to other people's music. I had a database of all types of Cleveland music that you could listen to at any given time. And it was really the first of its kind in the city. So once we used the website that I had to facilitate the first round of votes for the Ohio Hip Hop Awards, which was a
Okay.
complete fucking nightmare. Excuse my language. It was bad. Like because each vote came in as an email, and then you'd have to tally each email into the sector yourself. So it didn't come into like a Google spreadsheet with the votes or anything like that. It was
And
just
this
a
is the
bunch of
first.
emails.
This is the first awards.
First awards. So it was officially the first time that we ever had to deal with it. And it was the first time we were like, oh, how do we do this? We sat in a room for like 3 days counting votes. And it was crazy. It was not like, after that, we made sure we found a program that we could use to make it so that we didn't have to do that ever again. But, you know, the internet provided us with an opportunity that first and second year to really just get the word out. And back then it was much, much easier to do because the internet was so fresh, and they didn't have all these restrictions and the algorithm and all that crap that they have now, where it kind of curates who gets to see what and how many people get to see what. So back then we put out, like, I think it was our second year. I know I'm skipping around a little bit. We put out a thing on MySpace, like, hey, we're looking for interns. And we got so many requests that our boardroom was filled with like 12, 15 people that were all interested in being a part of it. So it really was easy to get the word out that first year. And, you know, Loran was into Radio One before he started doing this. So he was a Radio One host, and Garbs was a college radio host. Quincy was doing events and promotions and working with some record labels at the time when we first started. And I was really just the guy that had the newsletter and the young buck with the vision and the you know, and the mustard. You know what I mean? I had the
Right.
legs. I was ready to go wherever. But then I was getting to we were sitting in the office counting these votes up, and we didn't place an ad anywhere. We didn't do anything. The radio starts talking about our event. Like, yo, the Ohio Hip Hop Awards is coming up, blah, 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 this Saturday, make sure you're in the building. And, we're just like, what? Like, we're sitting in the office, just like, I can't believe that they're just showing us love like that. That's crazy. Made me feel like we were creating something that was newsworthy.
Yeah. So, okay, right there. So the first year you do it is getting a lot of buzz. How was the reception that year to go on to the second year to where y'all knew y'all had to, okay, we got something now. All right, we gotta put it all together. Yeah, this was an idea, but now, okay, we got something.
So we had rented this place called the Metropolis nightclub, big box nightclub, and it was packed. Like, so many people came, and all the people in the industry came, in the Cleveland industry. So, Cleveland's one of those cities where, like, we all knew who everybody was. Like, we listened to our radio pretty intently, and the college radio, and we had our little, like, Spitboxes was a renowned, kind of like you guys had, it was that place that was in the basement that they used to go to, where like Copy and Spitball Crew and all of them came from, where they had their weekly joints. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. High Street.
Yeah, on High Street. I forgot what it was called, but it was legendary, right? Like, even like up north, we knew about it. Just like how in Cincinnati they had Scribble Jam and stuff. Like, you know who's making the moves if you really was in it at that time. And so like Mick Boogie, big DJs came out. And I remember Mick coming up to me. He was like, man, I didn't think this was going to be like this, bro. He was wearing a T-shirt and, like, he's like, man, I thought this was just going to be some hood shit. He's like, this is nice. This is really sweet. Scratchmaster L, a legend, you know what I mean? Like, according to me at that time, I didn't know anybody, and he came up to me like, man, you a genius, brother. You a genius. I was like, oh my God. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, it was this like coming of age type of thing for me, where I was just blown away about the response and the reception. Atlantic Records brought a tour bus out. You know what I mean? It was pretty nuts. We didn't know what to expect, but it was crazy. People were like just giving us like buying VIP tickets like crazy, and it was just nutty. So
okay, so from that, so getting that reception that you're getting from the people, your peers, the other curators of the culture, people like you said you look up to. So break it down for the people, you know what I'm saying? Because this is a legendary story in Ohio. It's something big, and it's never really been told, I don't think, like on where people know. You named all your partners, and you named, kind of your idea. Break down what you said. Everybody had a role, and I think this is what makes all businesses successful. Artists, whatever lane you're going into, everybody that was one of your co-founders, everybody had a role, and I think that's the most important piece that people might forget when they're doing business. But break down how each individual role and what y'all did.
Yeah, so we never really had it written down to where it was defined, like, but we did set up, like, Loran was the president of the brand, so we made him president of the Ohio Hip Hop Awards and Music Conference, because he had an office space that was where we operated out of. He paid, he kept the lights on there. He put basically all the business structure went through his business that he already had established. So ESP Enterprises hosted the website. After the first year, we took it from my website and put it onto our own Ohio Hip Hop Award website. And he became the president. And then he also was the stage director. So when it came to the actual event, he was the one who decided who was what order the awards were given out on. The procession, you come up this way, you walk across, grab your award, you walk off, and you go behind. See, like, he would come up with that based on the venue. And then we had someone named Storm, who was this awesome backstage coordinator for us. So she was in charge of the models, in charge of the interns backstage, making sure, like, basically Loran's go-to for getting things done. And then Garbs was like our utility knife. He was really big into promotions, so he was really big into setup of the events. And we all sold, so we all had the responsibility of trying to get people to sign up for events and buy tickets and stuff like that. Quincy was, he used to go by Hollywood F. Everybody knew Quincy, so he was kind of like CEO. Like, people would see Quincy out, and he would shake hands, and he would make things happen on the sly to where it was like, oh, Bone Thugs is coming. Okay, thanks, Q. You know what I mean? Like that
Right.
was his role was just to like get it popping type of thing. You had me that I was like writing budgets and contacting venues, bookings, and just coming up with ideas, and we all came up with ideas, but I remember showing up to the first few meetings with like a notebook like of typed out ideas for the events, and they were just like, yo, this dude is crazy. This is the first time we ever met, and I'm coming up with like, this is how it's all gonna go. They're like, yo, chill out. I remember I'd always have like crazy ideas, but I thought my ideas were just like the kinds that would stop the show. Like we would do one year we shut down a street, and I felt like, okay, we could do this. We could shut down the street. And they looked at me like I'm nuts. I'm like, no. Well, we'll ask around, and I'll call Tenable Security, and we'll see how they do it when they do a big event. And it was like only like $250 for the permit, and then you had to pay a cop like $30 an hour to run the gate, and that was it. And so we shut down the street for the second award show. But yeah, and that's pretty much, we all had our roles. I would do more of like the VIP, shaking hands, getting people into their seats and stuff like that. And we all worked together, and we were all brothers. And when it came to sitting in that room, coming up with ideas and deciding on what was going to happen, it was like a war room. We would argue and yell and crack jokes and talk shit. It was some of the times, like we were making the ballots, that was brutal. Like you have to sit there with three other people and all agree on who should be on this limited ballot, because we really felt like we didn't want to put 12 people in each category. We wanted to make the categories exclusive.
Yeah, let's stop right there, because I want to ask you that. This is for all people who are just watching and who don't know the back ends of the business and what goes into some of these conversations and what you're about to explain. So I just want to ask you for the people, and let's break it down, because it's only a certain number of artists that can be in each category anyway. Let's start there. We can't put 30 people in a category. It just doesn't make sense. Like
dilutes it.
None of that makes sense. So we already know it's a limited amount of artists that are going to be each category. What goes into what qualifies artists to make it in those in the early stages?
It's been a long time, but let me try to remember, everything. So we had a system to where people could submit their press kits to us either electronically or through the mail. In the first few years, we had a lot of mail in physical product, EPK, or actual press kits and CDs and folders sent in. We also had an online way that people could submit. Anybody could say, hey, you need to check out this person. So we had a forum on our website where you could go on and be like, hey, I'm Mr. 365. I'm in Columbus. These are the ones you need to look for. And we would take those names and we would look them up. And let me be honest with you. I do not think there's a single person on the planet that has done more research, even with the current. I'm maybe going on a limb here. I don't know, but even with the current award shows that are going on, I do not think there's a single person who has done more research on Ohio Hip Hop Awards or Ohio hip hop artists than I have. Especially during that time period. I have spent countless hours.
You're epic.
Countless hours.
You're epic. The reason why I know you're epic, because I got brought into the Ohio Hip Hop Awards franchise through you. You know what I'm saying? So I knew Majestic. I knew Hef too. And I met up with Hef later on in a couple years after, but I knew you for about 2-3 years before I met Hef. You know what I'm saying? So, and I met Hef a different way in the business. Just rocking him being being around, being who he is. You know what I'm saying? You run into Hollywood Hef. You know, you
run into Hef, yeah.
But I think that's dope, because what you're saying, like I said, I just happened to see you on a post, and I'm like, man, that's Majestic. Like, I ain't seen that name in so long. And I'm just, like I said, again, it's an honor to get these stories and to get this out there. So once you got them press kits and all of these artists' music, oh man, hundreds of.
So we would accept submissions pretty much all the time, and then coming around like August, like after the tour, we would finish the tour because we're collecting on the tour too. We'd finish the tour and then we would take all the press kits that we had. And some years we were better at it where we would review things as we go. But we had this thing called Hell Week. Every year, Hell Week was the week before we released the ballot. And it was we blocked off our calendars every day of Hell Week. We were with each other for like 6 hours a day. Like it was bad, sometimes even longer as it got closer to the deadline. We'd do overnighters where we would sleep at each other's houses or sleep at an office and do this. So I remember when it came to the video of the year category, I thought it was so cool that I could watch every video, right? And I could find all these videos. So every year I would have a list of like 120, 160 different videos that I was like, everybody has to watch this. And we would sit there in the video day, we put a projector on the screen and we would hit play. And then, we would watch these videos. And if a video is like really whack, like off rip, it's like, this is garbage. And we just skip it. But we would see some really good ones and we would all flag our favorites. And then you'd get to like 30 videos and it's like, now you got to narrow it down to 5. And you got to be non-biased and you got to be respectful to like, especially after year 3 and 4, we were like, there's not really a quota for city, but there kind of is an unwritten, like we need to have proper representation across the state, right? We can't just say, oh, well, Cleveland's this mecca and everybody looks at us like, no, we have to have proper representation. We have to include other cities no matter what. So we would have to put people on there. Even if there was 3 dope videos that year in Cleveland, 3 dope videos in Columbus, and 3 dope in Cincinnati, we still had to get a Toledo person on there. We still had to get a Youngstown person on there. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it was pretty brutal. We would get a lot of feedback on that, and this is why we're having this conversation, is because people always felt underrepresented, and not only that, they always felt that Cleveland was overrepresented.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about that because you mentioned it in the beginning. Of course, that's your area. You know what I'm saying? Of course, wherever area you're in, naturally, you're going to know more people in that area. Mm-hmm. You're going to be aware of more artists in that area. So I totally get that. But when did it become? I think you said about year 3 or 4 to where y'all said, okay, we got to start. It's getting bigger than just Cleveland because it's getting where we have to represent Cincinnati, Toledo, Columbus. Where did that come in?
It was pretty much it was like year 3, year 1, year 3, and year 4. Year 1 we did Cleveland, so other cities just heard that we did it, and they didn't really know. Most of them didn't give a shit. They were just like, okay, whatever. Cleveland did something. Year 2, we had more of a buzz. Some people came through, and it was getting a lot of attention. So even though we only did like 1 showcase, and it was at a Cleveland place, and then after that, year 3 is when we decided, okay, let's go to Cincinnati, let's go to Columbus, and let's try to do a show there. And they both kind of bombed. You know what I mean? We didn't know anybody. We tried to get people to sign up, but I think only a couple people in Columbus came to sign up. And then in Cincinnati, I think it was like 3 or 4. But Cincinnati, the guys that came out were kind of like bigger artists in Cincinnati. So we kind of really like plugged in with them, and they were like, yo, what you guys are doing are dope behind it. You know what I mean? Those guys said that. And so we were like, cool. So they came out to year 2 and checked us out. And then year 3 is when we really started to get like permeation, or we started to saturate these other markets. And with like things like Facebook becoming available and Twitter becoming a thing, we really started to be able to reach out to more people and start to expand and bring on satellite kind of offices, right? So in Columbus, it was like Gatsby and everybody else's entertainment. The one year we had Moochie Millions. Moochie sold out our joint in Columbus. The one year was the greatest.
Rest in peace to Big Mooch, man.
Rest in peace to Big Mooch, bro. The dude was dope, bro. I really appreciated his swag and how he moved. So he was on board. He really helped us out and got us people and connected us. And so we really were reaching out to people in these different markets to make connections, to kind of learn who's who. And here's the thing too, you already know, even in like Cleveland or in Columbus, there's already kind of like a counterculture to whatever culture there is. So like you got something popping, and then people are like, man, them dudes ain't even shit, really. You know what I mean? You should be rocking with us. There's
Right.
probably like 500 different people all vying for the same top spot. So the
Facts.
same thing in Cleveland and in Cincinnati. So we would constantly, no matter who we put on the ballot, it didn't matter. Right.
Right.
People would see people that we put out, like we put Wise on, and people are like, that's valid. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, but Wise is out there,
No,
he's valid. You
that's
know what I
my
mean?
brother. That's my brother. That's my daughter's goddad. So yes,
Yeah.
that is valid. That is valid.
That's valid, right? So people be like, "That's valid." Ricky Ray, and that's valid. You know what I mean? But people would still be like, "What's not valid is that so and so ain't on here, or I ain't on here, or this person." And so they'd be like, "You ain't really holding us down like you say you is." And it's like, well, it ain't about me holding you down. You know what I mean? It's about, you know, getting the buzz to the point where it's undeniable. Like you need to be undeniable. Like if I don't put you on the ballot, then it's like everybody's like, "You're an idiot." Like I'm getting phone calls. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Like the
No, I'm glad you broke that down because it makes a lot of sense now looking back at it for people that are going to pay attention to this interview. You explain it so well. Even in our conversation, I was like, bro, if you that's what the people need to hear because they don't never see, nobody sees the grind and the hard work and what goes into this. And like you said, you're breaking down from when you narrow it down to 30 artists, then now you got to break that down to 5 and 6. So now it's like, boom. And what you said something very important, the people that you did end up start putting on from these other cities were valid. And
yeah, oh yeah,
that's what makes the buzz and the chatter and everything else come, like you said, because those people are valid. So now it's somebody else that may be valid too, that feels like, oh, I didn't get my shine. That's just like these lists that they have now, like the
right.
top
The
50 in
list,
Ohio.
yeah.
It's the same thing. Now the list is like, bro, these lists come out, people ready to jump off a bridge over these lists. And it's the same thing. And it's like, okay,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
it
sure it's a
is.
process of elimination. Somehow how they do their list, but you breaking it
We
down.
had we had that the actual the research behind it. Like we could verify and show that we researched it. Whereas, I'm not knocking anybody, but it's a lot of these lists, they can't prove like that they got any kind of submissions. They can't prove that they got a number of nominations. They're not going from, they're not like people don't know who these people are
Say
as
that.
most of the
No.
times. Who are
Yes.
making these lists. So I remember that was also a thing when I was still up in Ohio. People would make a list and like, who even made this list? I don't know, but it's
Yeah.
buzzing.
Yeah, it's the list. That's what, man, I'm glad to speak to somebody like you because that's what I'm saying. We come from a time where you had to do your research. You had to have the numbers behind this. Like, you can't just say, oh, and the algorithm put this video in front of you, so it's fire.
Hmm.
No, you like you said, you have hundreds of submissions. Like, nowadays, we can't validate that all these artists aren't
Not
just
that
being
easy.
handpicked and just
Hmm.
put on the list. So where's the validation for that? That's what I'm saying. So coming from watching now how it is, everything is real digital, to watching you grind and watching what I've had to do, press up flyers and be in people's face and like people submitting you music. Um, what's the backlash? How did y'all deal with the backlash at the time? Let's talk about that. Like a lot of the backlash that y'all did used to receive. Oh, I'm not on that list, or I should be here, or they all of those negative comments that when you were going through it. Now it's a lot different. But back then when you was
It's
going through it,
it's it was weird because I wasn't the first few years wasn't expecting it. You know what I mean? And I remember it was like year three, I was still young and we were doing this thing and somebody up in Cleveland, Akron area, I ain't gonna name names. We everybody who knows, but they was mad about not being nominated, but they were calling me like saying, when I see you, it's greenlit. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna beat the shit out of you. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I know you ain't a gangster majestic. I know you ain't from the streets all like that. But when I see you, I'm a punch you. I'm like, well, I'm gonna hit you back, bro. You know what I mean? Like, what do you want me to do? Just get beat up? And so we had this. I wasn't used to being threatened for doing something that was positive, I thought was positive. It wasn't like I was like selling or out there hustling or robbing people to where when that used to happen, like I would be like, okay, yeah, it makes sense that you'd want to fight. You know what I mean? But now it's kind of like, okay, people I don't even know are coming at me from all different angles, and us, not just me, but us. They people dropping songs, mixtapes, all types of stuff. People trying to form counter movements and all types of stuff. So it was really weird at first, but I was young, so I didn't know that it came with the territory. So I kind of like it made me get my skin tough over the years. And but when I was younger, I tried to react to everything. I tried to be like, nah, man, you don't got it all wrong. And I try to like talk to people and like, but now, like at this age, I know that was one of the mistakes was that, okay, you're mad. All right. Holler at me when you're not mad, or, we'll see each other and we could talk about it. If not, I remember I passed out a ballot one time and said, hey man, you want to vote on it? You just ripped it up in front of me. I'm like, okay, I guess that's weird. You know what I mean? Like walked off and I was like, all right, you know what I'm saying? But then, later on in life, dap up and, what I'm saying, smoke a blunt, whatever. It was cool, but it's just people have a right to be upset. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the things I learned is that people have a right to be upset, and I needed to let them be upset. Like they have the right to, and they should be able to voice their opinions. And sometimes it was opinions, sometimes it was slander, but either way, they should have the right to voice their opinions, and they should have the right to say what they want to say about it. And I shouldn't have to feel like I need to defend myself or my brand. I learned that I needed to be able to just take people's input, and I think a lot of times when people say something, they mean it, and you got to be able to digest that sometimes, because sometimes people are right. You know what I mean? And you have to be like, okay, we probably could have done something different here. We could have, we'll implement that, or you know what I mean? Like we did a lot of that too. So it wasn't always just pushing back against the anger and stuff. A lot of times it was accepting it. I remember one year I didn't go with them, but we went down to Columbus to do a press conference, and they set it up in a hotel, and they invited a bunch of people to come out and ask questions and stuff. And somebody at that press conference got into it with Lorand about, what do you say to the people who are saying that you took money to give an award away? And he was like, what are you talking about? He's like, who said that? He's like, oh, well, we can't say. It's like, what do you mean you can't say? I don't have a right to, know who's accusing me of this. And they were like, oh, well, we don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know? You just make like, what are you talking about? You're just making things up. So it was very strange for us. But I think we navigated it pretty well. I think we handled the accusations. There was the homie Sincere would always be on our ass up in Cleveland. She would always try to call us out for something. She was a homie. So even though we how would you say it? She was like, she tried to play that checks and balances game. You know what I mean? She knew what we was doing. She knew what we was doing was good for the culture. She knew that it was big, but she was like, oh, I don't like how you did this. What do you got to say about that? And it's like, yo, why you or this ain't right, or this ain't right, this ain't right. It's like, okay, but she would say it to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
those type of people are real friends, because
they are. Yeah,
I ain't talking
exactly.
behind your back. I'm gonna just say this.
Yeah.
You my homeboy, but it's almost like in the culture of media of what we have now. I ain't gonna put nothing out there behind your back. I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna say what I would say to you.
Mm-hmm.
We joking in this business, but in a lot of these things, like I said, it's so important what y'all did, and a lot of the bruises and the bumps and the backlash that y'all took to help people like myself, because I was building my businesses all through those years that y'all was doing this. I've been one of the biggest promoters, artists in Columbus for years. And that was when I was doing the artist thing, but I was always building my brand and my business along the way. That's how I linked up with you, through my marketing and my promotion. Because you was like, well, I can get you down. You had me a code for the but back in the day, this was like, I can't even remember what year this was. I had linked up with you, but a lot of those things, and linking with a lot of different people, because I was doing promotions my whole career. So I knew how important it was to market your business and brand. And as you grow and get to a different level, the outside things, you you can't control all of those. And I was the same way
Right.
as you. When I was young, I would want to react to everything. If you said something about me, I wanted to, what's up with that? Or, just
Yeah.
defend my brand and things of that. Because word of mouth is crazy and perception is everything. And people will get to hear something about you and they'll put
And
that on you.
it's hip hop, right? So it's like you get dissed. You know what I mean? Like it's different than if somebody's talking about the Ford dealership or something. You know what I mean? Like you
Right.
feel like you have to say something because people are like, oh man, they really went at homie like that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so back then, especially being younger, I see it a lot with I coached the basketball, semi-pro basketball, like older guys, 20 to 20, 30 year olds. And you see it like, yo, bro, you need to chill out. Why are you so angry? You know what I mean? But they can't let anybody insult their character, their ego, because then when the ego gets bruised, then it's like, oh man, Shorty ain't gonna rock with me no more, or I'm gonna lose friends or people in the status in the community. So they still caught up in that. So I was caught up in that, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people were too. But all in all, man, a lot of people had every right to say what they wanted to say. And some of the stuff was valid and other things weren't. And still to this day, even that post that was made the other day, some people had valid things to say and other people were just making things up. Like we said, nobody won an award that year. Like people won an award that year from Columbus. So I ain't trying to hear that. Some of the biggest awards went to people in Columbus that year. So, it's just one of those things. It's a balancing act, and you got to pick and choose your battles. And one of the things I always like to do was convert people through conversations into becoming believers of the brand and seeing that we are sincere and that their opinions do matter and that we do want to talk to them and hear their opinions. And, we can sit down and have that conversation. So I did that a lot too.
Yeah, no, that's dope. We definitely see the growth. Just you as being in the hip hop game and enduring so much and being out there from the grind, the grassroots marketing and promotion to, this crossing it over to the beginning of the digital age and building that brand and bridging that gap. Y'all did a lot for Ohio, and y'all mean a lot to Ohio. And even though
Appreciate that.
that was 12 years ago that y'all started, I mean, was active. 12 years later, it still resonates in people's conversation and people's hearts and careers. And, those awards mean something. Y'all might not be doing it, but that plaque means something, or that,
I
saying
still see
somebody's
them on the
remembering
walls.
you.
Yeah, I still see people putting them on their walls and stuff. So it's dope to see
That,
that.
that got to feel good to see something that you created or was a part of your idea to just mean something to people, like the humanitarian
Hmm.
part of it. You know what I'm saying? It got to feel
Yeah.
good. So what's your advice to anybody, the youth, I would say, more or less, the youth coming up that got good ideas like yourself, that, that's young and really don't know how to, go out there and structure, but they want to, kind of get into it.
Do it. You know what I mean? Whatever it is that you think that you should be doing, do it. Stop listening to people that tell you that you can't do it. People will tell you no, people will laugh at you. Just keep doing it. Consistency builds momentum, so it's a discipline. So it's not so much like, oh, I tried, it didn't work. It's like you tried 1,000 times and then all of a sudden you gradually, the next time you try, you're up here trying compared to down here. You got to keep on building and adding on to what it is you're doing. Now, also make sure that you're making the right choices and you're trying to improve on the other aspects of things. I think one of the things that we should have done a little bit better with the awards is tracking and keeping stats on the business. And what we should have done is like, how many people came to this event, how many tickets were sold, who sold how many tickets, how many awards were won and together, how many awards were given out in the whole program. We don't know those numbers. It was just kind of something that we were doing every day, just, putting these awards together. We didn't keep track of like how many, like who has the most awards. Well, Machine Gun Kelly probably has the most awards, but how many does he have? I couldn't tell you right now. You know what I mean? I have to do research, which I shouldn't have to do if I was tracking it properly. So track your business correctly and, do good things, be out there, be active, be open to providing value to people without having to be compensated for it. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but the first year we did the Ohio Hip Hop Awards, it wasn't about how much money we can make. It was about providing a value to the community that was undeniable and that people would love. And we just wanted to throw a dope event. We wanted people to have people, and if we made money, cool. But it wasn't a plot to get rich. It was, man, how can we get and show love and give roses to the people that we admire and appreciate for keeping our culture going. And that kind of turned into this value proposition that people really resonated with. So try to find a way to provide value without making it a this for that type of situation where you can provide the value and give it to somebody, and then they're going to be like, yo, you need to holler at Jim and get his services because he hooked it up. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the kind of thing that you need to do. And now for rappers, it's really hard to provide that because you always feel like the only service you got is to rap, which was why when I was rapping, I tried to provide that media service to get my foot in the door, to find a way to get to in front of other people that have influence. And then at that point, I'd be able to like, oh, this producer thinks I'm dope. He'll give me a free beat and I'll promote him in exchange. You know what I mean? Like we could do a barter system.
Barter system, yeah.
Yeah. So, you try to find a way to get get out of it always being about you. Like you have your persona, you have your rap image, and then you have you ain't the rapper, bro. Like, I don't care who you are. You have a mom or you have a daughter or a kid that you love, that you have love in your heart. I don't care how many people you talk about murdering in your songs. You know what I'm saying? That's your image. That's your character. But when it comes to the business, you're going to have to pick up the phone and have a conversation, and you're going to have to, level business. I remember I was talking to somebody about doing the showcase, and he just hung up on me when I started to pitch. And so I just called him back. I'm like, yo, I think our phone is like, no, our phone didn't disconnect. I'm like, bro, you're going to hear me out anyways, because what are you doing? Why you call, like, you called me asking me questions, you know what I mean? And according to y'all, I'm a gatekeeper, but you're going to hang up on me. You know what I mean? Like, that's weird. You know what I'm saying? So we talked, and, he went back to the streets and was, he didn't take it seriously. Take it seriously. Whatever you're doing, take it seriously. In business, you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who knows that person or who cares about that person. So if you out there and you just dogging people all the time, everybody helps you on the way up. But if you dog them, they're going to be there on the way down too. So you better remember, how you treat people on the way up.
Definitely, man. That's some great advice. And one last thing I did want to ask you though. So what was the end? What made y'all just be like, all right, we ain't doing this the next year. This is the rap. What was that? What came to that?
I would say it was a slow decline. It was weird because near the end, I felt like I was picking up steam. Like I was really seeing, I guess, the ceiling and how we're going to get around it. But it was so long that we've been grinding that a couple of the other guys were like, man, I don't know how much longer I want to do this for. You know what I mean? And it feels like we almost like this is a cross that we have to carry. And I was like, man, I'll carry the cross. I don't care. Like, I was like thinking that we were going to take this for like, I was going to give it to my kid as a business. And we got to the point where we were doing these college shows where the college was giving us, Tri-C gave us $10,000 to bring artists and talent in conjunction with the award show and the music seminar. So I felt we were really getting into a position to where we're leveraging big sponsorships. And we brought Twister out for a free show. It was like stuff like that was starting to bubble. And that was kind of around the same time that things started going downhill, where as far as we just didn't have the gas anymore. And then honestly, to tell you the truth, my wife took a job down here in Florida, or she had the opportunity to, and she asked like, hey, what do you think about this? And I said, you know what, this is a big opportunity, and we did 13 years of the awards. So I was like, I'm with you. So we went down to Florida. I tried to do my part from Florida, and I was going to come back for the actual award show, and then a hurricane. I didn't know when hurricanes came about, but September, that's hurricane season. So I was going to fly out, but a hurricane happened. I couldn't mail tickets out because the storms were getting bad. So it was a mess. And that was the last year. And so it was just kind of like, moving down here, things were kind of getting slow. And it just kind of boiled down to this um, this kind of like quiet end. There was no blow up, there was no anger. It was just like, hey, this sounds like a good time, and we all just kind of said, yeah, that's good. So we wrapped it up. We did our last award show. We held it. Gave the awards out, and we just kind of announced that this was going to be the last one. And bittersweet, I was down here. I didn't know what I was going to be doing. I kind of felt like I kind of felt lost in Florida for a little bit, and then became a realtor. And now I found a lot of things to do with real estate that's got my whole entrepreneurial energy back up.
No, that's dope. I'm glad you ended with that
Yeah.
because I didn't have to ask your transition. It was dope because you ended it off with that because that's a big high note. You said a couple things in the end of that really touched me. Because I'm pretty sure your wife supported you through this whole journey that you went.
Oh yeah, she was
So
very supportive.
So for her to say, I got this opportunity, and then you turn around and be like, nah, I'm with you, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? I
Hmm.
think that was very big. And then, like you said, that transitioned you into your new career now, being a realtor, and, you know what I'm saying, having that under your belt. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's just the growth of hip hop. That's the hip hop story. You know what I'm saying? Because we ain't gonna be on stage forever. You know that. I mean,
No,
realistically, not a
we
lot of us
try.
are having 50, 60-year careers of performing on stage. Now, there's some of them out there that are still
Yeah.
performing, but the average person ain't doing that. So it's good to find what you're gonna do next in your career, build your life. Life was lifing, and like you said, I think another to end it off on a positive note, the reason why y'all's legacy lives on and goes so strong still to this day is it wasn't ended messy. It was ended classy. Y'all didn't. It's
Hmm.
really not too much talked about. They'll have to, I guess, look at this interview if they want to see why. If they want the
Yeah,
answer, you know what I'm saying? They'll tune into this to figure it out. But I mean, like I said, I just want to give you guys flowers again for what y'all
appreciate that.
did for Ohio as a whole. Y'all did something very big for the culture in Ohio that we feel like we get shunned over a lot in the industry. We do got big names out there. Of course, a lot from Cleveland. We got them from Columbus. We got them everywhere. But we
Everywhere,
just
yeah.
we just feel like as a whole, Ohio, we ain't got the ball yet all the way. You know
It
what I'm
was
saying?
it was more or less what I saw from the whole thing. The reason why, and if you want that, is that we were trying to do this, and it always seemed like people didn't want to come together. Like the sitting down and having the sit downs, having 12 people in the room, all agreeing that, hey, you know what, this year, this person is the person that everybody's behind,
Right.
and this is the person that all the rappers in that room, all the media and all the people that are making noise together independently, separately in the state, all coming together and saying the state is going to push this person next year, the
Yes.
state is going to push this group, we're going to do this and build together. That was the goal that we were trying to get to, and we never were able to accomplish that. But that was I think that's the reason why Ohio is overlooked, whereas in other cities and states they have a network of people that have power, have influence, that all work together to make strategic um, decisions
Definitely.
together. And I think that's really, because you see those people like when LeBron came out, 8081 came out, and Fat Al and all them, and the whole capping movement up in Cleveland. That LeBron coming out blew up Cleveland. I don't know if people really understand that. Without LeBron, there wouldn't have been as much of a Cleveland presence in the scene either, because there was a lot of money that came into Cleveland when LeBron came out in the
Right.
music scene. So that was huge, and there was people in LeBron's circle that were making decisions to push certain people,
Right.
and people didn't know that. A lot of people didn't know that, or they didn't recognize it. But that's the beauty of having societies, right? Is that the
Yeah.
majority of people don't recognize where the actual engine is at.
And that, man, that's all I've been trying to do my part in Ohio, like yourself. I feel like I'm one of the people, like I said, in Atlanta. That's how it works. We know who's coming out.
Yeah,
Like we
yeah,
know who's coming out or who's next. That they push that person, and like you said, for some reason, like even to that, the curator sometimes. I feel like a lot of us, or at now it's more easier said than done, but back then, like you said, those meetings were hard to have with having these people in the room, everybody not on the same page, and that's
Hmm.
Ohio's problem right there. Like we everybody needs to be able to sit down and make these decisions to be like, look, you know what I'm saying. But it's coming together. I see it coming together a lot more now. With the young generation, I'm rooting for us as a
Yeah.
whole in media. Speaking to people like you, man, getting your knowledge, I'm sure people will take something from this video that they can learn from. Again, it's been a pleasure, man, to have your time on this Saturday, man. Anything else you want the people to know out there before we wrap it up?
Oh man, it's all love. Appreciate you, Columbus. All my people out there that have been very supportive of the Ohio Hip Hop Awards. All the people that have complaints or have felt like they were wrong. I appreciate you too. I know that we will see you guys shine, and if not, I know that you'll support somebody else and get them to the next level. So it's all love, peace, and blessings. Thank you so much for the interview and the opportunity to have this conversation.
Man, I appreciate you again, my brother. I'm sure, man, we'll get back in touch soon. I know you said you're in the real estate game, so I'm trying to dibble and dabble with different things this year. So I might be reaching out to you, just get
All
some
right.
information about that too.
All right, and one more thing, man. Give them boys that are doing the award shows right now a chance, man. Go holler at them and see if you can link up and see if you can make something happen. We never really worked together, but I know Dre a good dude. Go holler at. I know you got him coming up too.
Yeah.
Holler at him, give him a shot. See if you can get your artists on the stage with them dudes.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Dre and them, man. I got him coming up too. That's my brother, man. We actually started doing tours together, but
Yeah.
and that was dope that I got you too. You know what I'm saying? So because we bridging the gap. Like we gonna do our part in the media to make sure people get the stories. That's my job, to make sure they get the information. See, a lot of information gets out there, but we just want to bring you the culture in Ohio.
Hmm.
That's all we about. So, man, again, peace and blessings to you and your family, man. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Who you got in the Super Bowl?
Eagles, man.
Eagles,
Eagles.
all
Got to
right,
see
man.
it.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. Everybody want to see the Eagles win this year, man. So yeah, let's see if we
Yeah.
can put KC away.
Yes, sir. All right. Appreciate you, my
All,
man.
all right, man.
Peace.
Yep.